My name's Isaac, and I'm 38. I work in IT, nothing flashy, but I've built a comfortable life for myself. I'm single, live alone, and while I don't have kids of my own, I've always been close with my niece, Ava. Or at least I thought I was. Ava is my older sister's daughter. My sister, Valerie, is one of those people who's always been good at making things look perfect from the outside. Instagram-worthy vacations, themed birthday parties, matching family outfits. But the reality behind closed doors has always been different. She and I haven't been especially close since our 20s. She's always seen me as the odd one out, the quiet one, the one who never really did anything with his life, as she once put it during a holiday dinner when she didn't know I was standing behind her. But Ava was different. She used to come over on weekends when she was younger. We'd build Lego sets and watch sci-fi movies. I taught her how to set up her first email account. She used to say I was her cool uncle, and it meant more to me than I ever let on. So when she got into college, a private one, out of state, with tuition fees that made my head spin, I didn't hesitate. Valerie had been panicking about how to afford it. Their financial situation wasn't great, and Ava didn't want to take out loans that would weigh her down for years. So I offered to help. I didn't want it to be a big thing. I just said, "Look, I've been saving up. I don't have kids of my own. Let me do this." Valerie didn't argue, not really. She just nodded, said thanks in a distracted kind of way, then launched into a story about how her husband had just lost his second job in 6 months. Ava gave me a hug and whispered, "Thank you, Uncle Isaac. I won't forget this." I smiled and told her to study hard and not worry about money. That was 4 years ago. Since then, I've been making direct payments to the university every semester. Quietly. No fuss, no family group chats, no demands for recognition. I even told Ava not to mention it if she didn't want to. I didn't want to create drama with her parents. I just wanted to help. And for a while, that was enough for me. But over the years, something started to shift. Ava called less and less. When she did, it was usually because she needed something. A new laptop, a little extra for books, an issue with her financial aid that I'd end up solving. I didn't mind, not at first. I figured she was just busy with school and growing up. But I'd still send care packages, snacks, warm socks in the winter, little things I thought she might appreciate. Most of the time, I didn't even get a thank you. Then came graduation. Valerie sent out a mass email with an invitation to Ava's graduation party. Not the ceremony itself, just the party afterward. It was being held at some fancy rooftop venue downtown, apparently rented by her husband's brother. I RSVP'd yes. I even bought a new blazer for the occasion, something a bit more formal than my usual jeans and hoodie look. When I showed up, I felt like I'd stepped into a different world. Everything was pristine. Champagne glasses, white tablecloths, a slideshow looping photos of Ava from babyhood to college years. There were speeches too. Her dad gave one. Then Valerie. They went on, thanking relatives for supporting Ava's journey, naming cousins who had sent gift cards, family friends who had offered encouragement. At one point, Valerie got teary-eyed and said, "We couldn't have done this without the love and generosity of everyone here." I sat there, silent, with my drink in hand. No mention of me, not even a vague nod in my direction. I tried to shrug it off. Maybe they didn't want to make it weird. Maybe they thought I preferred to stay in the background. But then I saw Valerie glancing over at me with this smug, dismissive look. She leaned over to the woman next to her, one of our cousins, and I heard her say, "He's just the uncle." He probably expected a shout-out or something. They both chuckled. That stung. Ava never came over to talk to me during the party. She was surrounded by friends, dancing, laughing, posting pictures. I waited, thinking maybe I'd get a moment with her, maybe she'd say something. Anything. But by the time I left, all I got was a quick wave and a distracted, "Thanks for coming." I drove home that night feeling hollow. The next morning, I opened my email and saw a message from the university. It was an automated reminder about the final tuition installment, a relatively small amount, just enough to hold back the release of her diploma if it wasn't paid. I stared at it for a long time, and for the first time in 4 years, I didn't pay it. 2 weeks went by. I didn't hear a word from Valerie or Ava, not even a text. I figured maybe they assumed it had already been paid. Maybe they thought money just magically appeared every semester. But then, on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I let it go to voicemail. Then the same number called again. And again. I finally picked up. It was Ava. Her voice was shaky. "Uncle Isaac," she said, and immediately I could hear she'd been crying. "They won't give me my degree. I didn't say anything at first. I just waited. I don't know what happened, she continued, sounding more frantic. I tried to request the digital version, but they said there's an unpaid balance. I thought it was a mistake. Mom and Dad don't know what's going on. I just wanted to ask if you knew anything. There was a pause, and in that silence, something in me hardened. I said quietly, "Guess you'll have to thank someone else now." She went silent. There was a long, breathless pause on the other end of the line. I could hear her try to form a response, a soft, trembling inhale, like she was about to speak but didn't know what to say. Finally, she whispered, "Wait, what do you mean?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I mean, I've been paying your tuition, Ava. Every semester. Every book, every lab fee, every credit. And after 4 years of silence, 4 years of watching you drift further away, after your mom mocked me at your graduation party like I was some irrelevant background prop, I figured maybe it's time someone else steps in to help. But I didn't know, she said quickly, desperate. Uncle Isaac, I swear, I didn't know you were still paying everything. Mom just said it was handled, and I thought. Exactly, I cut in. You didn't ask. You never asked. You just assumed. There was a rustling on her end, like she was pacing or sitting down. I'm sorry, she said finally. I didn't mean to ignore you. I've just been busy. School was overwhelming. I didn't mean to hurt you. I believed her. At least, I believed that she didn't intend to hurt me. But intention doesn't erase the pain. I didn't say that, though. Instead, I let the silence stretch between us. Then she said the one thing that almost broke me. I never got a chance to thank you properly. I closed my eyes. You had 4 years of chances. Another pause. Then, more softly, what happens now? I didn't answer that. After the call ended, I sat at my kitchen table for a long time. The email from the school was still open on my laptop. The cursor blinked next to the Pay Now button, almost like it was daring me. It wasn't about the money. I could afford the final payment without blinking. It was about what the money had come to represent. For years of loyalty, love, and effort, met with silence, indifference, and condescension. That smug look from Valerie haunted me. I'd replayed that moment in my head over and over. You're just the uncle. As if I was lucky to even be allowed near them. The next day, I got a call from Valerie. I nearly let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me. I picked up. Isaac, she said, her tone sharp and clipped. Did you seriously cancel the payment to Ava's school? I didn't cancel anything, I replied calmly. I just didn't make it. There was a cold silence. Then she hissed. Do you realize how this makes us look? The registrar's office called her father this morning. They're holding her diploma until payment clears. People are going to start asking questions. I almost laughed. That was what she cared about, how it looked. Not the emotional damage, not Ava's anxiety or confusion, but her own public image. She deserves her degree, she snapped. She does, I agreed. And she'll get it, when someone else pays the last balance. Her voice turned shrill. Don't be petty. This is just childish. You offered to pay. You can't just back out because you feel unappreciated. That word stuck with me. Childish. I swallowed my pride and said, I'm not backing out. I fulfilled every promise I made. But when you humiliated me at that party and dismissed everything I've done like it meant nothing, I realized maybe it's time for you to learn what it feels like to do something yourselves. She scoffed. So this is revenge? No, I said. This is accountability. Then I hung up. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. No calls. No texts. Ava went radio silent, and so did Valerie. But I knew what was happening. They were scrambling behind the scenes, trying to gather the money, trying to avoid admitting to friends or extended family that they'd let someone else carry the financial burden all these years. Pride is a heavy thing, especially when you've built your life on appearances. Then, on a rainy Thursday morning, I got a message from Ava. It wasn't a call. It wasn't even a long apology. Just a single sentence, typed at 2:17 a.m. Do you really hate me now? I stared at the message for a long time. It sat there like a weight on my chest. I didn't hate her. I didn't think I ever could. But I was tired. Tired of being invisible. Tired of being used and overlooked. Tired of giving love in silence and getting nothing in return. I typed out a reply, then deleted it. Typed again. Deleted. In the end, I left it on read. But what I didn't know at the time was that Ava had already told someone else the truth. And what happened next at our upcoming extended family reunion? Well, That's when the entire house of cards began to fall. It started with my cousin Marlene. She's one of those people who notices everything, the kind who will pick up on the tension in a room before anyone else and casually drop a question that feels innocent on the surface, but cuts deep just under it. We hadn't seen each other in over a year, but when we crossed paths at the family reunion, a sunny afternoon at my aunt's lake house, she gave me a long, knowing look. "You and Valerie good?" she asked, casually sipping her iced tea. "You weren't at Ava's little post-grad brunch thing last weekend. Half the family was there." I shrugged. "Wasn't invited." Her eyebrows lifted. "Really? Really?" Marlene nodded slowly, then leaned in slightly. "That's weird. Especially after everything you did for Ava." There was that moment again, the pause, the silence, the lead-in. I gave her a sideways glance. "What exactly do you think I did?" She hesitated. "Ava told me. About the tuition." I exhaled slowly and looked out toward the lake. The sun sparkled on the water, kids were laughing somewhere near the dock, and someone was setting up the grill behind us like it was any other normal day. "Did she tell you how her mom reacted?" I asked. "Oh," Marlene said, lowering her voice. "She didn't have to. Apparently, Valerie's fuming. She's been spinning some story about a misunderstanding with the school. But I guess word got around." Word had definitely gotten around. I noticed it in the small things, the way some of the older relatives looked at me with subtle nods of respect, how others avoided eye contact entirely. Even my Uncle Roger, who barely ever acknowledged my existence beyond a grunt, came up to me and said, "Heard you stepped up for Ava. That was a good thing to do." I didn't correct him. I just smiled and nodded. Later that afternoon, I saw Valerie across the lawn. She was holding a plate of fruit, chatting animatedly with two aunts. When she caught my eye, her expression changed instantly. A flicker of guilt, maybe, or anger, or both. She excused herself and started walking toward me, that fake polite smile painted across her face. "Isaac," she said sweetly, "do you have a minute?" I nodded and followed her behind the house, where we had some privacy. Her smile vanished the second we were out of view. "You told people?" she snapped. "I didn't tell anyone," I said calmly. "Ava did." Her mouth tightened. "Well, now people are asking questions. Mom called me last night demanding to know why she didn't hear it from me. Aunt Rita thinks we're ungrateful freeloaders. And even your precious Marlene gave me a lecture about how family doesn't mean keeping secrets like this." "I didn't make you keep it a secret," I said. "I told you from the beginning that I didn't want recognition. I just wanted Ava to succeed." Valerie let out a humorless laugh. "Don't pretend this isn't about recognition. You wanted to be the hero. You wanted people to see how generous you are." I took a step forward, keeping my voice even. "No, I wanted to feel like I mattered. I wanted to believe that after 4 years of doing the right thing, I'd at least be treated like part of the family. But instead, you erased me from Ava's life, and now you're angry because you can't control the narrative anymore." Her eyes flashed. "You're so dramatic." "No," I said. "I'm just done being invisible." She opened her mouth, then shut it again. For the first time in a long while, she looked uncertain. "By the way," I added, "if you're worried about people finding out who paid for what, I wouldn't worry too much. I've got copies of all the invoices. Every single one." Valerie turned pale. I left her standing there and walked back toward the lawn. The scent of barbecue hung in the air, and someone was playing a guitar near the porch. A few kids ran past me, laughing. It was strange how normal the day felt, like the ground hadn't just shifted beneath us. But it had. The next week, I got another email from the university. This one was a formal notice. The final payment had been made. Not by me. I checked the transaction history just to be sure. It had come from a personal checking account in Valerie's name. And about an hour later, I got another message. This time, it was from Ava. No preamble, no greeting, just a photo. It was her holding her diploma, her eyes red, but smiling. In her other hand, she held a handwritten note. It wasn't addressed to anyone, but I could read the words clearly. "To the person who believed in me when no one else did, I'm sorry I forgot that. I won't forget again." That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Because while Valerie had paid the final fee, what she hadn't counted on was the university's alumni office contacting me next, with a question that would send this story in a direction she never could have prepared for. A week after Ava sent the photo, I thought that would be the end of it. The storm had passed. Valerie had swallowed her pride and paid what was due. Ava had finally acknowledged the truth, and the family surprisingly, seemed to be letting go of the drama. But then the email came from the university's Alumni Relations Office. It was a polite message thanking me for my continued support of Ava's academic journey and asking if I'd like to be listed as a sponsor in the upcoming Donor Appreciation Gala. At first, I was confused. Sponsor? Gala? I scrolled down. Apparently, the school had a tradition of honoring families or individuals who made significant contributions to students with financial hardship, especially those who helped someone complete their degree in full. The admin mentioned that my name was on record as the payee for every semester except the last, and they were offering to send me a plaque, a formal letter of recognition, and a public thank you during the event. I stared at the screen for a long time. I'd never wanted public recognition. I really hadn't. But something about Valerie's reaction at the graduation, the condescending smirk, the dismissal, the quiet, calculated erasure, made me click yes. Not out of spite, not for revenge, but because I was tired of being the family ghost, the one who only existed when someone needed a favor. I didn't tell anyone about the gala. I didn't even RSVP for the event itself. But when the school posted about it on their website a few weeks later, complete with a photo of the honorees and a caption underneath my name, people noticed. Suddenly, the narrative changed. Now, relatives who hadn't said 2 words to me in years were calling to catch up. One uncle emailed me to say he was so proud of what I'd done. My grandmother, who always favored Valerie growing up, sent me a letter saying she wished she had known what I was doing sooner, that maybe she hadn't given me enough credit all these years. And Valerie? She was furious. Absolutely livid. She called me one evening, voice tight and controlled. "You went public with this?" "No," I said plainly. "The school did. I just didn't stop them." She was silent for a few seconds. Then, "You're humiliating us." I gave a bitter laugh. "You did that yourself. For 4 years, you let me foot the bill for your daughter's future, then tossed me aside like I didn't exist. You and Ava had every opportunity to show some gratitude. All I ever asked for was basic respect. And when that didn't happen, I stopped paying. That's it. This is going to follow her," she snapped. "Do you know how it looks that she needed charity to finish school?" "Charity," I repeated, stunned. "Is that how you see it?" "Well, what else would you call it?" she said without missing a beat. "You're not her father. You're not even a parent. You were just a—" "Careful," I said, my voice cold now. "You're about to say something you can't take back." She didn't speak again. I hung up. A few days later, Ava came to my door. I live in a quiet neighborhood, not too far from the city, and I rarely get visitors. So when I saw her standing there, holding a box, I didn't know what to expect. "Hey," she said softly. I nodded. "Hi." She held out the box. "I baked these." I raised an eyebrow. "Okay." "No, I helped a friend bake these," she amended. "I mostly just stirred things. But they're for you." I took the box and stepped aside. "You want to come in?" She nodded and followed me in. We sat in the living room, and for a moment it felt like it used to, before everything got complicated. "I messed up," she said after a long silence. "Badly." I didn't say anything. I wanted to hear what she'd say next. "I didn't forget that you paid," she continued. "I just stopped thinking about it. I let Mom handle everything, and I let her tell me what to believe. She said you didn't want attention, that you didn't care, that you were weird and sensitive and probably doing it out of guilt for not having a family of your own." That stung more than I wanted it to, but I nodded. "I believed her because it was easier," Ava said, her voice cracking a little. "And when I heard you didn't make the last payment, I was shocked. Not mad. Shocked. It was like I'd been walking around in a fog and suddenly got smacked in the face with reality." I glanced at her. "So why are you here now?" She reached into her bag and pulled out a small folder. Inside was a handwritten letter, several pages long. "I wrote this," she said, "before I saw the alumni post. Before everything. I was going to mail it, but I wanted to give it to you in person. I needed you to hear me say thank you. Not because I'm scared or embarrassed, but because I finally understand what you did for me." I took the letter but didn't open it yet. We sat in silence for a bit. Then Ava looked up at me with watery eyes and said, "I didn't deserve it, but you gave it anyway. I'll never be able to repay you." I shook my head. "I didn't do it to be repaid. I did it because I loved you. Still do." We talked for a while after that. Not about the past, not in detail, but about what came next. Ava had gotten a job offer at a startup out west. She was nervous but excited. And before she left that night, she hugged me tightly and said, I won't let Mom erase you from my life again. That's a promise. A few months later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a wedding invitation, not Ava's, but a cousin's. On the RSVP card, someone had scrawled in familiar handwriting, "Table reserved for Uncle Isaac." I smiled. Sometimes, silence is a form of love. But sometimes, silence lets others write your story for you. Not anymore. This time, I made sure my story was heard.